Are you worried that you might be a procrastinator? You're worried that maybe you're just lazy. Maybe there's something wrong with you. You know exactly what you need to be doing, but you can't quite get yourself to do it. And so instead, your day looks like seeing that big task that you need to do and instead going and scrolling LinkedIn or checking on Slack messages or responding to emails and doing a bunch of busy work until it's 4 p.m. and you still haven't done that task and now you have to do that task and the pressure of the deadline forces you to do it. You are in such good company. Hi, I'm Amber. I'm a performance coach for enterprise sellers. I help with mindset and productivity, and I'm going to teach you today why procrastination is not laziness. There is nothing wrong with you if you procrastinate. And I'm going to teach you what procrastination actually is. And I'm going to give you the easiest tool. It takes 1 minute and it's going to eliminate your procrastination forever. Are you ready? Let's do this. I'm going to teach you exactly what procrastination is, exactly what causes it. I'm going to give you 2 tactics that are going to help you eliminate your procrastination, and make sure you stick around for the second tactic. If you listen to nothing else in this video, please listen to this because I promise you it will help your procrastination to disappear almost immediately. Okay, let's talk about what procrastination is and what procrastination isn't. First of all, procrastination is not laziness. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not a lack of motivation. Procrastination is caused by overwhelm. This is the secret behind all procrastination. When things feel too big, they feel too overwhelming, they feel too uncertain, your brain automatically tries to reduce the amount of energy that it's spending and it halts all progress. What's so fascinating about overwhelm is that every single human who experiences overwhelm stops taking action. So let's say I feel overwhelmed because maybe my kids created a disaster or all the neighbor kids were over and they were playing in my basement and it's just toys everywhere. And I feel completely overwhelmed thinking about cleaning this thing, which, let's be honest, it's not my job. But let's say that that's the case. It's super overwhelming to clean all of this. What would be realistic is for me to notice I'm feeling overwhelmed and remove the thing that's causing the overwhelm, right? Like clean up the mess. Then I won't feel overwhelmed anymore. But instead, what I do and what we do as humans who are feeling overwhelmed is we go lay on the couch and scroll on our phones. Overwhelm leads to inaction, and that inaction looks like procrastination. So whenever you're procrastinating, you might just notice that you're feeling overwhelmed. And our body goes into this protection mode of, oh no, we might expend too much energy. And so rather than taking action, overwhelm just stops you in your tracks, you freeze, you do nothing, you go looking for some dopamine by probably scrolling on your phone. Does this sound familiar? I would love to know what your typical things that you procrastinate are. Feel free to drop me a note below. I'd love to hear what they are. For me, it's always asking my clients for testimonials. I don't know why it feels so bad. It feels like maybe they're going to write back and be like, you're a fraud. You're the worst. Nobody ever has. But my brain is so terrified of this. I always procrastinate asking for testimonials. So if you're someone who procrastinates, I just want you to know that this is totally fixable. This is not a moral failing of yours. This is not even that big of a problem. It's just a result of overwhelm. Your brain avoids tasks that seem too big or too unclear. And so rather than addressing it, your brain is going to go towards dopamine-seeking activities. Things that are easy, like scrolling LinkedIn, playing chess, looking at your phone, doing busy work, responding to emails, responding to Slack messages. It's totally normal, and every seller that I've worked with experiences this. So now that we know that procrastination is just caused by overwhelm, let me give you 2 tactics that are going to help with this. First of all, we have to add clarity. Our brains, our psyches are horrible at organizing information, which is why they remind us at 3 o'clock in the morning that you forgot to send that email. Like, thanks for the reminder. This is terrible timing. Whenever you feel busy, it's less a result of the reality around you, and it's probably more accurate that it's a result of all the information that you're trying to store in your brain. Busyness is just too much information that you're trying to store there. You're trying to remember all the things you need from the grocery store, remember to sign up for that other thing, remember to send that email, remember you need to schedule that calendar appointment. It's just too much information, and your brain is not good at holding all of it. So the very first step is you need to get all of it out of your brain and onto paper. This tactic is super helpful for a number of reasons. First of all, it helps you to organize the information. You're not storing it in your brain anymore, and it helps you to put it on paper and understand what actually needs to happen. Second of all, when you document all of these tasks that you have floating around your brain, everything you need to do, and by the way, I recommend writing personal and professional tasks. Just get it all out of your brain. When you write out all those tasks, your brain stops ruminating about them. I think about our brains as like a snow globe. There's just so much going on in there. There's too much. And once you get all of your tasks out of your head, it's like the snow in the snow globe falls down, and suddenly you can see clearly. You can focus much more easily because your brain's not ruminating and trying to remember all of these things that you're trying to store in your head. The third benefit of this tactic is that it instantly reduces stress. It helps you see on paper what needs to get done, and check out my other episode all about how to prioritize your list. If you're looking at that list and you're like, oh no, too much, what do I do? Go check out that other episode. It's going to be game changing for you. Now, one thing that we do wrong when we add things to our task list is we don't make it clear enough. We are not adding that clarity. So you might write something like bank, make the phone call, whatever. Your brain, you have to think of it like a caveman. If it's going to take more than 2 brain cells to understand what needs to happen, your brain's going to procrastinate it. So be sure that when you're writing out your list, and you can do this in a later step, get it all out of your brain. But then when you're writing out your list of what needs to be done, make sure you're very clear about exactly what needs to happen. This doesn't have to be a whole paragraph, but be clear of send the presentation over to the client, or respond to that email from so-and-so. Be very clear for yourself exactly what needs to happen, because if your brain has to think about what is this and what do I do about it, it's going to feel overwhelmed and it's going to procrastinate. So be super clear. Okay, let's move on to tactic number 2. I love this one because if you consistently do this, not only will you feel so much less stress, you'll completely change your productivity game, and you might actually even enjoy crossing those tasks off your task list. So let's get into it. Okay, so we talked about how your brain doesn't like things that are too big or too unclear. When it feels too big, your brain feels overwhelmed. And when your brain feels overwhelmed, it freezes, it stops, and you procrastinate. So the next step is breaking down big tasks. If something feels too big, you're automatically not going to want to do it. It feels too big, too overwhelming. I know steps 1 and 2, but I don't know steps 5. And so I'm going to just skip and not work on that at all. So when you have a really big task that is a project or something you need to do, something that feels maybe emotionally overwhelming, break it down into smaller steps. You have to think about your mind like a scale. There's a scale going on in there. And your brain is thinking, how much effort is this going to take versus how much dopamine am I going to get from it? So if it's a huge thing like build that presentation, your brain's going to look at that task on your task list and say, absolutely not. That sounds really hard, really frustrating. I don't want to do it. No, thank you. However, if you break that task into super small pieces, the scale is going to tip. And now your brain will say, okay, the only task I have to do is go for a walk and brainstorm anything that I want to talk about on this presentation. I'm going to just go for a walk. I'm going to record voice notes, and I'm just going to brainstorm like what would be some fun topics to talk about. Well, now that feels pretty easy. And the dopamine hit that I'm going to get when I cross that off my list feels very satisfying. So now the scale has tipped. I'm going to get a lot of dopamine, and this feels pretty easy. That is what you're looking for. You want to break down every single big project into super, super small tasks. And all you're looking for is getting the inertia going. For many of us, once the inertia is going, we're good. We've got it going. We're ready to keep going. And so breaking it into super small tasks is super helpful. For those tasks that are like emotionally challenging, you can even start like stupidly small. Task 1 on your list is open your laptop. Task, like cross that off. Whew, got it. Dopamine hit. I'm ready. Task number 2, log into the software that you need to use. Done. I'm an expert. Task number 3, start brainstorming ideas for your presentation. You can break it down ridiculously small. It doesn't matter how small it is as long as it gets you into motion. Every small win builds the momentum. And that's going to help you crush procrastination, eliminate overwhelm, and build the momentum to get these projects done. So let me tell you about a client who used this. This client felt really overwhelmed. There was so much to do, so much to sort through, so much on their plate that they had a really hard time. They started, their workday looked a little like this. Maybe this sounds familiar to you. They would see that big project that they had to get done today, but it felt too big, too overwhelming. And so they would procrastinate doing it all day long. The morning got filled with responding to emails and doing busy work and responding to Slack messages and maybe like catching up on LinkedIn, because that's worthwhile too, right? And just wasting a bunch of time on distractions that were dopamine seeking. And then by the end of the day, it was like, oh no, I still haven't worked on that task. So now at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., they're bringing their most tired, least focused, least energetic, least able to think version of themselves to this big project that needed a lot of attention. So now you're stressed, you're pressured, you're operating out of fear, you're trying to get this thing done, you're doing the very best you can, and it's not very good. When I taught this client these tactics of adding in more clarity and especially breaking down tasks smaller, they focused on getting their most important work done in the early hours of the day when they were most focused, most alert, most able to strategize and think about things. They brought their best self to the hardest problems. They got the inertia going and they would just knock out all of that work. Now this client had 2+ hours every day. Think about all that time that's wasted on distractions. They now had all of that time back. And by the middle of the day, they already got their worst work done. All of the hard stuff was taken care of. And they had the rest of the day to, do fun things like update your CRM. They ended up leaving work at 3 p.m. every day, spending more time with their family, spending more time exercising, giving themselves space to be able to think about their deals and strategize where they wanted to move next, and ended up closing more business than ever before while working less hours. This is possible for you too. And all it takes is breaking down your tasks super small, adding clarity so that you don't procrastinate. One other tricky thing that I'll give you another tactic for. Sometimes people procrastinate because they don't know what to do. They're like, okay, I know I need to work on that proposal, but I don't know how to work with legal, or I'm not sure how to multi-thread in this deal. I know that I need to do that, but I'm not sure how that works. So they would get hung up on not taking action because they didn't know what to do. If that's the case for you, write down a task on your smaller broken out task list of figure out what to do. Go ask this person, go research that from this sales expert, go read this book, go chat GPT it. It's totally fine if there's unknowns to write down, like next step, learn how to take the next step, and then to write it in your list of taking that next step. Don't let indecision and uncertainty stop you in your tracks. Okay, real talk. Which tactic are you most excited to use? Adding clarity to your tasks, doing the brain dump, getting it all out of your head so that you're not ruminating about it anymore, or breaking down your tasks super small so that the inertia gets going automatically and it's not even hard. I would love to hear. I read every comment. I want to cheer you on. I want to support you. Okay, just to wrap all of this up and remind you what we talked about. Procrastination is not laziness. Please, if you learn anything else, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not a subpar human because you procrastinate. It's just a result of overwhelm. Your systems aren't serving you. And once you learn these new frameworks and learn these new systems, you will not procrastinate anymore. You'll get the work done that you need to get done. So first of all, notice that you're overwhelmed and remind yourself you have tactics. We're going to add clarity and we're going to break down our tasks super small. When you're adding clarity, get everything out of your head. Brain dump it all so that you stop ruminating about it. And when you write out your tasks, make sure that you're clear about what needs to happen. Remember that you're a caveman. You need to be able to understand with one brain cell what needs to happen here. And tactic number 2, break down your tasks so small that you want to do them. I want every single task on your list to feel like something that you want to cherry pick off your list. You'll know that you have them small enough when you look at your list and you're like, oh, well, that's easy. I could totally do that right now. That's your cue. That's your signal that you've gotten them small enough and that they're ready to go. Tiny tasks equals easy dopamine wins. When you cross it off your list, you get that hit of dopamine and it leads to instant momentum. If this video helps you out, hit the like button and go subscribe. That will ensure that you'll get more super easy productivity and mindset strategies. And if you know someone who's drowning in overwhelm, do them a favor and share this with them too. You owe it to them. Nobody needs to feel overwhelmed. This is so simple and so fixable. Let's please solve overwhelm for everybody. I'm Amber. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.